Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. We are on episode 22 of Ace of the Diamond. We're at the national qualifiers, the team's there. Tanba, last set of episodes, had that horrible chin injury, and so he's better. He's doing better. They told him that he had to sit out until they made it to the quarterfinals. So it's like, no pressure, right? Your friend that's a third year, that his entire season's riding on this. You just gotta make it past a couple games to the quarterfinals. Shouldn't be a problem. But I really liked the last set of episodes. I say that every week, but every set of episodes has steadily gotten better, and I've really liked them all the way through. Last set of episodes was nice, not only because we saw the team come together to rally around Tanba, but we saw the numbers passed out. Our boy Sawamura, he made it as number 20, and was really sad because he wanted, to play. He wanted Chris to play, but Chris is going to be our scorekeeper, so it's fine. It's all good. But with that, we also have this idea of getting competition laid out. So we saw May last episode, which I really love May. May is a cool character already. Very, got the inferiority complex, but also has the OP-ness to back it up. He reminds me a lot of Hoshiumi from Haikyuu, and Hoshiumi has that cockiness to him, but it's warranted because he's a good player, right? It's not just hot air. So I'm very, very curious to see May compete in this tournament in the qualifiers if they make it up. It said if they got to semifinals, they'd see them again. So, very, very interesting. But yeah, we got to get there first. We got to get past these other prelim games. So I think we have 2 games that we have to play and win before we get to the quarterfinals. So basically, if we can beat 2 teams, Tanba can come back in and pitch in the quarterfinals. So that's exciting. But yeah, so far, I've really liked us. We took, 21 episodes to lead up to this point of the qualifiers, which is about what you would normally do for a regular season, I feel. So, except this season's 75 episodes. So there's a lot going on. But yeah, we're at episode 22, calling for attention. So interesting. And apparently the school that they're playing, Chiba is the coach. And he, at the end of the last episode, was really confident that his boys were not going to have any trouble because they didn't show their hand in their practice game that they saw Seidou recording. So clearly they got an ace up their sleeve, or it could be a literal ace up their sleeve, right? That would be hilarious. But yeah, so I'm pretty excited to see what our characters do, what our top 20 do in a main game. That's going to be interesting to see. Where now it's no more practice games, no more team games against each other on the field at home. We're in the thick of it, in the actual qualifiers, which is pretty cool. So yeah, let's do this, y'all. 260 teams in Tokyo, and our boys at Seidou are going to try to make their way up it. So should be a lot of fun. But yeah, let's do this. Let's start episode 22, calling for attention of Ace of the Diamond, here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh, so these 3 episodes were pretty interesting. Pretty interesting indeed, and I took lots of notes. So we ended up getting 2 games basically out of these 3 episodes, and we're just chugging right along with these qualifiers. So I'm really curious because we're through episode 24 now, so we're technically about a third of the way through season 1, which is interesting to me. So we still have this coming match, and then if they win that, there's still quarterfinals. If they win that, there's still semifinals, and if they win that, there's still finals for the qualifiers. So we still have 4 big games to go before we qualify for nationals. So there's a good chance that these games could take up quite a lot of time because we've kind of breezed through these first few games here. But man, so Maimon West, episode 22, I like the idea. I like learning these new concepts about the pitches, like the submarine pitch. That's really cool, and I love the animation on it. So they had Mamoru, number 10, come in instead of their normal ace pitcher to try to throw Seidou off. And it worked for a little while, but then, Seidou came in. I love Chiba. Chiba, the coach, he reminds me, the coach Chiba for Maimon, and then this coach for Aikawa. The 2 coaches remind me a lot of Teoka, who's the coach for... Well, Chiba reminds me a lot of Teoka, who's the coach in Slam Dunk for Rionen's team. And then this new coach, who's for Aikawa, he reminds me a lot of Kainen's coach quite a bit, just like calm, cool, and collected. Whereas Teoka's pretty animated for Ryonen. But Chiba, with his rules of war, there's only 2. There's just make the first move and always be optimistic. Like, that's it. That's his rule book. It's like, dude, you probably should have added some more rules in there. The final chapter. These episodes were really funny. Like, the comedy in these episodes were really good. Especially episode 23. That was hilarious. Poor Sawamura. But I wanted to bring up the idea that it was brought up in the episode about public schools versus private schools. And Chiba makes a point of saying that, you know, their batters aren't used. They're not used to Furuya's pitch. They're not used to fast pitches. He's like, well, we're not used to a pitching machine and stuff like that. And so back in episode 21, he like even made the comment. He's like, we'll show you public schools aren't to be made fun of. And there is a disparity there. And I totally get it now, because at first I was like, well, who cares if you're a public school or not? But they have so much less resources because they're not privatized and don't get private money. So they don't have the batting machines, the pitching machines, and the extra special things that a big school like Seidou would. And it was really interesting watching episode 22 and seeing the Maimon West game. It was really interesting because I'm used to shows like Haikyuu and Slam Dunk, where the team you're on is the underdog, so the other teams around you are underdog teams too, and everybody's kind of like, we're just trying to beat the big school and work our way up to nationals and do our thing. And in this show, we're not the underdog. We are the big school. Seidou is the big school, so you're not rooting for the underdog. You're rooting for the top team to stay on top. So it's kind of a different thing. It's a different atmosphere. But I really like that idea of when the coach says, oh, we've just been trying to win as many games as we can, but we're playing a team that has trained for nationals. And that's the difference. Are you just trying to get by winning as many games as possible and doing this game to game? Or do you have a goal and your sights have been set to meet that goal? That's the mindset difference. So that's so fascinating to me. I really love that he calls them out on it. And that's really, really cool. But yeah, so then I also love that we're getting more into really just how opposite Sawamura and Furuya are. Because Furuya, we've established Furuya loves praise. His teammates, you know, he likes getting positive reinforcement. And he's very quiet and introverted, but he's never really nervous about anything. He just knows that he has to pitch. He goes and does his thing, right? Sawamura is the opposite, an extreme extrovert that has all this energy and all this enthusiasm. And it's not that he's nervous, he just is loud. Sawamura's just a loud person. And the team has to constantly like berate him and keep him in check. It's not that they don't want to praise him, but Sawamura doesn't need praise to function. Furuya likes the praise helps Furuya's mindset. Sawamura doesn't need the praise. He just needs somebody to keep him in check. And I love when Chris is like, I'm sorry. Like he's his kid. He's my responsibility. I love that. That was a great moment. So then, yeah, in episode 23, Sawamura actually gets to come out in the field and pitch. And I love the three-way look between the coach, Miyuki, and Chris. That they all are in on this. That, hey, they're winning by 15 runs in the 4th inning. They can get this game done in 5 innings. Let's just bring Sawamura in, give Furuya a rest, and just let Sawamura practice pitching. And it's a crazy notion that you're still practicing in the middle of a high stakes game. Like, that's how crazy this team is. That I'm sorry, but the team coming at Sawamura when he hit the guy, like them all circling him slowly. That's probably one of the funniest moments of this show so far, is that Sawamura was like, just knew he was going to get yelled at in the middle of a game. But yeah, the fact that the coach is testing them and training them during these high-stakes games is crazy. That's insane to me. And I like that during all of this, Ray went to watch Ichidai play. And Ichidai is a team that if we make it to semifinals, we're going to face them. So Manaka is the pitcher that we saw in that game, which was interesting. And so we get a little bit on Manaka later on. We're going to talk about him later on with Manaka. We're going to go back to him. So I got my notes here. We're gonna go back to him. But basically, she went to watch Ichidai pitch that game. So I like that both Sawamura and, because this is the one thing that I didn't really care for in like Slam Dunk, if I'm being honest. Rukawa in Slam Dunk is very similar to Furuya. Rukawa is like a prodigy. He's like a perfect guy. He's very introverted. He's not there for the girls. He was basketball sexual, as I said. Furuya's kind of baseball sexual. But Rukawa was always praised as being this prodigy and amazing player, and he never really got reprimanded if he made a mistake, which he did make many mistakes, but he never really got reprimanded. It was always Sakuragi that got, yelled at. In this show, I like that Furuya does make mistakes. Furuya, for as good as he is, as much as they praise him because it helps him be a better player, Miyuki's worried because Furuya is doing the same pitch. He's fast. He's got a great fastball, and it's like a rocket. But the moment you figure it out, it's going to be easier to overcome. And Miyuki's worried about that Furuya doesn't have much change up in his pitching style. It's just, I'm a monster pitcher, but if you figure me out, then we're in trouble. So Miyuki's worried about that and wants him to pace himself and get better ball control. And Sawamura has the upper hand in that he's not predictable. You don't know what he's going to do, but he doesn't have the control. So I like that both of them got yelled at by Chris and Miyuki and Kuramochi. And I think Masuko was there, where they were like, you guys need to get it together because Tanba isn't going to get to come play with us for another 2 games. You need to get it under control. Also, may I say, Coach, dude, our coach looking fine in his button-down shirt and slacks. Like, I'm just saying, he's winning the sexiest coach award of all sports anime at this point, and not even trying. So there's that. There's that. It's been 1 month we've established, because I was wondering about the timeline, how long it's been, and it's been 1 month since Tanba's incident. So he's been 4 weeks. So we're looking at like a game every other week or something like that, or a game every week. And so we established that Manaka, who is the pitcher for Ichidai, the one that we have to watch out for, used to be on the same junior high team as Tanba, and Tanba was the relief pitcher for him. So him and Manaka probably have like a Furuya Sawamura type relationship, which is going to be interesting to explore if we make it there, The 4-seam move, I was wondering what strategy Chris taught Sawamura, and it was the thing with the 4 seams, which is really cool. The fact that Sawamura goes, 4 seams, isn't that a rapper? I'm like, isn't that an American rapper? So good. I love the humor in episode 23. It's so good. But yeah, I love that Chris this is the last thing I'm going to teach you. And we find out that the pitch that Chris loved against Aizen, the best pitch he's ever received in a game, was when he had his hand on the 4 seams. It's like, yeah. And so Sawamura has a fire lit under him because Furuya is named the pinch ace, the replacement ace for Tanba while they're gone, because Kawakami is not an ace. He's the relief pitcher, and he likes being the relief pitcher, so he's very effective in that role, but he doesn't want to be the ace. Sawamura, of course, wants to be the ace, but he's not there yet. Instead, it's Furuya. And, of course, Furuya gets all the praise. He's like, yes. So we go through Murata East Game 2, and they win that game pretty easily by like 10 runs. And we get to meet Shunshin, who is our Taiwanese player in Japan. My dog is over here scratching the floor. But Shunshin, we get him kind of bringing in and being our bespectacled, foreshadowing man. So that leads us into episode 24, which is called Clockwork. And I like that we get some background on Aikawa, which is our team that we're going to play next for round 3. And if we win this game, we go into quarterfinals. So there's a lot riding on this game. Not only is it getting into the quarterfinals, but it's also letting Tanba pitch again. And Tanba's been practicing, so Miyuki's like, we don't want all this to go to waste. But this is where things start to take a little bit of a turn. Because one, we get villain backstory, we get antagonist backstory, which is usually a sign that they're going to be strong. I've watched enough sports anime to know that when you get backstory on the rival team, that means that they're going to be a problem. And then also we have our Furuya problem, which we'll talk about in a minute. But Yuki, I love Yuki. I love that he gets to shine in these 3 episodes as being the captain for a reason, and him not only being so intimidating on the plate, but also being just this really cool, larger-than-life figure. Like, Yuki's just awesome. And I like Miyuki has to throw in, like, even though he's bad at shogi. He's not perfect, guys. He's not perfect. I love when they go, because you can tell that the high school really likes the baseball team. They know how popular they are because of how good they do at Seidou. And of course, the third years walk around. They've had 3 years to kind of bask in like doing well, and so everybody's like, "Oh my God, Yuki! Oh my God, Ryosuke!" And they're like, "Yes, you called." And meanwhile, our first years are drooling on the desks. They're not at that cool status yet at all. I love that the girls, because in Slam Dunk, the fangirls of Rukawa has no interest in women whatsoever in that series. But the fangirls like, "Oh my God, Rukawa!" And I like it's more realistic in this show that the girls go to Furuya and they see him like just dozing off, and they're like, "Oh well, he looks cool playing baseball." And then of course Sawamura is just drooling all over the desk. He don't care. His girlfriend's off at another school. And then they comment that Haruichi kind of looks like a girl with his long hair, and that he's cute. So we meet Shunshin, and it's established that he's known for his curve and fork balls. He's known for his ability to be in control as he pitches. And so he's got the one thing, Chris says that's the one thing that you boys don't have, is Shunshin has control. He can control exactly what pitch he makes every single time. Y'all don't have that. So power, and that's kind of what Shun was a little bit mad about. He's like, you have all this power, but you have no technique. So it's going to be an interesting match for sure to see this guy that's all about technique go up against our raw first years and Kawakami. And I wonder if this is when Kawakami is going to get to shine, because our first years are going to be stumped by him, and then Kawakami is going to have to come in and step up his game. I don't know. But I like that they say, Kuramochi and Ryusuke, you guys are good at bunting and hitting the ball low, so we need you guys to speed and bunting. We need you guys to be on your game because you're the best at those two things. It's like, okay, cool. They established that there are scouts that come to these games, which are interesting. I think we've mentioned that before in previous reactions. But what I find interesting is that Yuki, they're like, oh, Yuki could be scouted for pro ball, and they're like, oh, he's not interested in that right now. And they established that he's too busy thinking about in the moment. So at first I was like, why is he not interested? But it's because he's focused on these games. And then we get Owada, who's introduced as the female reporter. She's freaking tall, but they're scouting, and I love her line, "Glasses conquer all." I'm like, interesting. I'm curious if that's going to be something to come up in this next game, if Miyuki's going to have to step up, if Shunshin is going to be a problem. And they also establish that Aikawa, 7 out of 9 of their batters are left-handed, which is a big number of left-handed batters. And so they're concerned that they may have to use Sawamura to counter that. And so I'm like, interesting. Very interesting. So it's been established that there are just rumors of Tanba's injury. They haven't reported Tanba's injury, which obviously they don't want the opposing teams knowing Tanba's injured. Because like Miyuki says in the batting cages, he's not back to full strength yet. And so that's a problem. We don't want other teams realizing that Tanba's not going to be on top of his game. And that another problem is, on top of everything going on, is Furuya. And I'm so glad this show, it did not dawn on me until Miyuki realized it in the moment. I was like, wait a minute. Because Furuya's been hot, like getting hot all the time these last couple episodes. Like, it's been foreshadowed that Furuya keeps getting overworked and overexerted. And I'm like, you're not doing any less work than anybody else. Why are you getting all bent out of shape? And in the moment he said Hokkaido, I was like, oh, he's used to where it's snowy and cold in the summers and everything, and where it's not nearly as hot as Tokyo. So he is he's having heat exhaustion. He's literally having a heat stroke. Literally. Furuya can't handle this. Like, his stamina's not good to begin with, and you topple that with the fact that he's not used to Tokyo's heat in the summer. This is his first summer away from home. Yeah, he's getting overexerted and overheated. It's like, oh my God. That's going to be a problem. So it's probably good that Sawamura learned the four-seam thing and that Kawakami's been practicing, because they're probably going to have to use all 3 pitchers in the next game to survive. I love that the coach for Aikawa just says, like the phrase over and over again. I try not to say, I'm horrible about saying the phrase like. I am horrible about it, and I hate it. But it's become so ingrained in our culture that I try not to say it, but I realize in watching some of my reactions over again, I'm like, oh, you said that so much. And so I've been trying to stop that, but he just embraces it. He's like, and even the report, to the point where the reporter says, you realize you're saying that over and over again. So Shunshin doing 200 pitches a day is pretty crazy. But I love the establishment that, one, Aikawa, they kind of established that they're like an exchange student school where they work a lot with Taiwan high schools. So they constantly do have Taiwanese players coming to play at their school. So it's not a new thing. But I like that Shunshin is devoted to the game of baseball because he has this pride and he wants to do right as a Taiwanese baseball player in Japan, in Japanese baseball. I think that's really, really cool. And then he's a language exchange student. And at the end there, he does 3 pitches. It's like the 3 outs, the 3 strikes for 3 people. He does it for his family, his Japanese father, his coach, and then for his teammates. It's like, oof, he's going to be, Shunshin is going to be our next big antagonist. I'm pretty sure he's the guy with the glasses in the OP. I'm pretty sure. But he's going to be our next big problem in the game, which is... these last 2 games went by pretty quickly, and we just barely saw any of them. And I feel like this next coming game is going to be the one that's going to be like at least 2 or 3 episodes to get through. Because how do our wild and ragtag pitchers take on the clockwork pitcher? At least Chris had his little pointer. He was like a teacher. He's like, and if you can look here, it's like, ah! And also, I love that June is called the Spits of Seidou. I love it, and he hates that nickname. But these were 3 really, really good episodes. I really liked them from start to finish. I'm really excited for these next 3 episodes because it's like all coming to a head with this team that's going to be a challenge. And if they win this game, they get to go to quarterfinals, and from there it's going to get crazy. And so, very, very exciting. So, yeah. That was episodes 22, 23, and 24 of Ace of the Diamond. I hope you all enjoyed them. I'm curious to know if you have any thoughts down below. Please no spoilers, but what you guys think of Shunshin, what you think of episode 23 and its humor in all 3 episodes so far. Miyuki stepping up his game, being both a good batter and a good catcher and mentor in these episodes. Just a lot of stuff being set up that I'm really excited about, and I can't wait to see come to fruition in the episodes to come. So, yeah. In any case, I hope you all had a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll be back next week with episodes 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27. We're already towards episode 25 of Ace of the Diamond.